Hi, this is John Solari, the Method Actor Speaks, and today we're going to be interviewing an interviewer. We always, have people come on and they talk about what they do, and today we have Jodie of LA. Is that the name of your show?
Well, actually, it's JODY LA and JODY in Malibu.
And JODie in Malibu.
Because I have two of them.
And your last name is?
Carn.
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 No relation
to Judy.
No relation to Jimmy.
No.
No.
No, not Jimmy Collins.
Oh, good. Yeah. I just want to make sure. And so let's find a little bit about you.
Okay.
How did you come from a family background?
Yes, I come from a showbiz background. My mother was a choreographer. She came from Canada and at 8 years old, and she came out here, and by the time she was 14, she got a contract at MGM, and she was there till she was 29 and never stopped working.
Really?
She choreographed The Wizard of Oz, and she did all the Eleanor Powell and Fred Astaire films and Ann Miller. I mean, she did every musical you can imagine at MGM.
Wow, and your mother's name was?
Donna Mason.
Okay. So,
M-A-S-S-I-N.
So people will know who that is when next time they see the movie.
Yeah.
And so you really enjoyed all that, and you grew up in California, I guess.
Santa Monica, and then Malibu.
I
don't know anything else.
Well, Santa Monica I like. It's very New Yorkish. People walk there.
Oh, and you have every aspect of life down in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. That's when I first came out here, I subletted out there, and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So your family did all this. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I got the showbiz blood when I was a little kid. I mean, so my parents put me into dancing school and singing, and I did the whole bit. And I remember, more than anything, I wanted to be a Mouseketeer.
Really?
Yeah, and even though I know the Mouseketeers now. And by the time my mother called for an audition, because she knew very well Sidney Miller, who directed it, they stopped the show.
They stopped the Mouseketeers?
Yeah, and I would have been the youngest, because Cubby and Karen were like a year older than me.
I knew Sharon.
You knew Sharon?
Cheryl.
Cheryl passed away, unfortunately. I'm friends with Doreen and Tommy and Lonnie.
Cheryl had the greatest smile.
Oh, she was beautiful, yes. Yeah.
Every time you saw her, she had that big smile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she lived in Santa Monica.
Yes, she did, yes. And then her mother lived in the valley over here.
Right.
I used to see her, yeah. Cheryl was a dear person, a dear person.
Yeah, she sure was.
It's still hard sometimes to think that she's gone.
Well, it's hard to think Annette's gone too,
and
even though she was so sick for so many years.
Yeah, well, Annette, you could understand. She was in a lot of...
Oh, it's better off probably. She's in a better place.
Better place, yeah. Well, Cheryl, and she didn't smoke or drink or anything like that. She got, lung cancer.
Who, Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Oh, I thought she was a heavy smoker, no?
Well, I never saw her smoke.
Oh.
Could have been, but I never saw her smoke. And I know her over 20, 25 years.
Wow. What a shame.
Yeah. Well, anyway. But the Mouseketeers, there's not too many left. You say you have...
I've interviewed Lonnie, and I've interviewed Doreen. I'm friends with Doreen. I'm friends with Tommy. And we all went to the same school, Hollywood Professional School. Not at the same time, but we all went there.
Hollywood, what was that like?
Hollywood Professional School was a school for professional children. And you could go to school from 8:45 to 1:45, and you're done. Or you could go from 1:45 to 4 o'clock. And it just depended on your schedule, whether you had interviews or you're taking dance or acting classes. So it was great for kids in the business.
Do they still have a school like that?
No.
I was going to say.
I think that stopped in like 1986 or something.
Now
it's just a vacant lot on Hollywood and Western.
It sounds like a school where the studios set it up to get...
Well, it made it where you could just work, and it was a great school. Everybody went there. I mean, you could go back to Mickey Rooney, and of course his sons went there. I knew them. Everyone in the showbiz community went there, unless they had a contract at a studio like Paul Peterson. He was doing Donna Reed. So he went to school there at set.
So that must have been interesting, growing up, going to school with all these who went on to this fame.
Yeah.
And when you see each other till this day?
Well, we have reunions, and we still get together, and it's the funniest thing. I could walk out your door, and you could say, oh, that person there went to Hollywood Professional School, and the minute you say you did, oh, you're instant friends.
Right, yeah.
Because, there was like 45, 50 people in my graduating class.
Really?
Yeah, and the school started from nursery school all the way to high school. So like where you went to school, there was probably, what, 1,000 graduates?
Easy, yes,
You know?
yes, yeah.
So it was a small little school.
Wow. It's a shame that's not going on, but I guess a lot of it changed because if you notice, a lot of the vocal high schools and schools all turned into business schools now.
Yeah.
Where they make money off of them now.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't know what kids do today. I mean, unless they're being trained at a studio or homeschooled. But this school is like a Fame, you know, that they had in New York.
Fame, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I was in New York when they were making that, and yeah, and I used to pass that school all the time.
Yeah.
Going over, you know, right off Broadway there it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Matter of fact, I lived with a friend right across the street from it for a while.
Oh, wow.
So, well, I grew up that area.
Uh-huh.
And then when I acted student, there was a very famous bar they called Jimmy Ray's. Every actor that came from New York went there, even Pacino. We all had a tab there, and nobody ever paid it.
Well, that's a place to go.
It was a great place for actors. When you got a job, you went down the block to Joe Allen's or something like that. It was all the New York actors, actresses, where we all hung out. There was a great place.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you know, when you run into somebody from Jimmy Ray's, it's instant friendship.
Instant friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get into after high school, what happened then?
Well, I started actually dancing when I was 13. And there was a show out here called the Wink Martindale Show.
Right.
And you had to be 16 to be a regular on it, which we danced every single day. And I lied. I lied. I said I was 16. So I did that for 2 to 3 years. And then I went on to Shindig and I did different dancing, you know, around town and then also on television.
Oh, was that like a American Bandstand?
No, well, actually, Wink Martindale had maybe 8 people that danced on all the time. Yeah, we didn't have any extra people come on, so it was just regulars.
But I mean, was it that type of show?
That type of show, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Bunny Gibson?
No, but I sure knew Pat Molitari.
Oh, 'cause
Remember
Bunny-
Pat?
Yes.
Unfortunately, she passed away at a young
Right.
age, but I was friends with Pat because she moved out here to do Teen Magazine. And I worked on Teen Magazine as a model at the time, so we became good friends.
Yeah, well, Bunny's on Facebook, and she was going to come and do a show. Mm-hmm. But she was one of the originals on.
Oh, I remember her. Oh, yeah, I remember her and Franny Giovanni and all those kids.
I remember watching the show, but names I was never good at names.
Yeah.
But she does a lot of charity work and stuff like that. So you're a dancer now. What about your training for dancing? What kind of training was that?
I studied all over. I studied tap, ballet, jazz. But it seemed to be, when I really got dancing professionally, it was a lot of go-go work.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
in your time in New York was a go-go dancer.
Yeah, so I did a lot of go-go dancing.
Wow.
So that was good exercise.
Up in the cage?
Yeah, I did that too.
Right, that's what most of them were.
Yeah.
I remember in the Peppermint Lounge, or there was the one they did with what's the one, oh God, what's the one they did with the Odd Couple? When they were in the bar there, I remember the bar. I know the name so well.
Whiskeys or
No,
Hullabaloo?
Cafe Whisky.
Oh.
No, this was in New York,
Oh, New York.
and it was a very famous go-go bar.
Oh.
And where they shot, what would I just call them? I'm having them senior moments,
I know, I get the blonde moments.
Yeah, there are too many bats to the head. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, the Odd Couple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I was living in the village then, going to acting school, attending bar, and most of them would all come to the village, all the go-go dancers. Primarily, most of the go-go dancers were gay.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, we didn't call them gay. They were gay, they were lesbians.
Yeah.
But the majority of them were gay, because I hung out in a lesbian bar.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Kelly's Village West.
You like the lesbians, huh?
Well, it was a great place to meet women. With no strings attached.
Well, that's true.
Because every once in a while they would enjoy a man.
Yeah. Occasionally, right?
Right. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then I was actually it was the village was a great place to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about Santa Monica, but the village was like that. It was a different world compared to New York.
Yeah.
The rest of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And going to acting school and attending bar, and it was That was 1967.
Wow.
What were you doing in 1967?
Well, let's
You were
see.
still in high school, probably.
No, I graduated in '66.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. So those years I was still in school, and then I was studying method acting at Desilu, which is now Paramount. So I did the method acting too, and
What do you mean by method acting for you? What does that
Well,
mean?
method acting to me is that you become that person. You
Right.
feel that person. Now I'm going to tell you, I never felt like a fried egg.
Okay. Yeah, I had someone on, we were talking yesterday about the orange juice.
Yeah, some things I kind of went, this is kind of overboard. But
I can understand the exercise,
Yes.
but I've never met anyone yet who has tasted the orange juice.
or felt like a fried egg.
But she did have, oh, felt like a fried, well, you know, that could happen, but you know what she said that was interesting?
What?
She felt the heartburn. You know the burn?
Really? Yes, from orange juice.
Yes. Which
Wow.
I've never heard before.
She really got into that part.
Yeah, really, and I thought, wow, I never heard that, and yet, I could believe that, you know, because you know, but to taste it, I can remember what orange juice tastes like,
Yeah.
but I could never taste it without the orange juice.
Well, it's funny because when I was young, you know, I started at 16 at Desilu, and you know, you have to get into the part. Well, I got so into it, I never got out of it when I got home, and my parents were going, "Oh my God, how long is this going to last?" I said, "Don't get me out
A
of
real
it."
method actor.
I took it so seriously.
Marlon Brando,
Right.
the school of Marlon Brando, you know,
Yeah.
that's, and actually that gave method acting a bad, oh, I forgot to do that, I'm sorry, a bad name. Was,
But you know, when you think about it, most of the very good actors seem to come from method. I mean, when you think of Al Pacino and
oh,
you know,
no, oh yes, well I'm a member of the Actors Studio myself,
Right.
let me just put this out here so we don't
okay,
hear it. Apologize, this is an unscripted show, so we
I
never
know that.
And what's going to happen, I apologize, audience, but you're right. No, I'm a member of the Actors Studio, and I understand all of that. And yeah, matter of fact, today, she's you can find her on Facebook. She spells her name Luye. I guess you pronounce that Luye. She's a Chinese
Oh,
opera singer. And originally she was supposed to sing yesterday for the 90th birthday of Maria Callas.
oh, that's something. She must sing well.
I'll show you on Facebook arias. But I got to go as a guest today at Actors Studio with Tina Louise, who's a member of the Actors Studio too. And she Facebook back, she's there. She said, I'm there. It's like such a big honor.
Oh,
And
sure.
The biggest honor, she's getting ready to go sing for the Pope in Italy.
Wow.
So she can sing.
That girl
Yeah.
can sing.
But Actors Studio is so when you said you studied method, but that was the bad name. You know this.
Yeah.
I remember they used to complain that method actors take too long. They used to, Shelley Winters, you know, they
We
would
have to get in the mood.
Get in the mood. What's my motivation?
Exactly.
You know, and which is not true. I mean, you know, what you learn as an actor, you have to forget about it.
That's right. You do.
It's only there if you need it. Acting is just reacting.
Right.
You know, if you believe it, I'll believe it. And the technique is just all those things, the classes, the sensory, is so that you can, when you need it, you can go there.
Right.
You'll see something like that. So there's a picture of me. Here's a picture of me in 1976.
Great picture.
I just come down from Sing Sing. I was on work release.
Oh.
I was still in prison, and I was doing the street theater in New York.
Oh.
I still have my prison greens on. I had it inside out though.
Great.
This is the photo here of me.
Well, I went from Desilu and then I went to Jeff Corey. You probably know Jeff
Oh,
Corey.
Jeff
I studied him with him for a
And you
while.
really studied, yes.
Yeah.
I did a movie with him, the Messenger of Death with Charles Bronson.
Oh.
And afterwards, actually we never had scenes together, but at the screening, he was talking to a bunch of people and I was walking by with Tina Louise, who went to the screening with me. And he says, hey, good work. You know, and I thought, wow, coming
Yeah.
from Jeff Corey.
Well, I remember when I went in, he said, so why are you here? And I said, well, obviously to study acting. He said, oh, can you act? I said, of course I can. He said, then you're in. He said, if you would have said, I don't know, I'm here to learn, he said, you'd be out the door.
Really? And he worked, boy, he knew the business.
Yes, he did.
Jeff Corey, that must, what were some of the things, what was it like in that class?
He was intense. And I remember at the time, when I was going in, I remember who was coming out, and one was Robert Blake was with him, and then the one from, I'm trying to think of the girl, it'll come to me, but he had a lot of people. But I took more private with him, and he was just very, I mean, he really pushed you.
Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, was his method, what kind of, so the audience understands, what was his method of working? I mean, how did he approach acting compared to like Strasberg's or, and this, besides the method?
He just said you have to believe what you're saying.
Right.
And not only do you have to believe it, you have to make the audience believe it.
Well, yeah.
You know, so he says you just always have to feel it and think, you know, you got to think.
But did he have exercises that he would have you do?
Actually, no, I didn't get the exercises.
So he was really straightforward then.
Yeah. Now I remember when I went to Strasbourg one time.
Oh, did you? What did
But I didn't study with them. I remember they said, get up and you're going to sing Happy Birthday.
Right.
I said, okay. And they said, you're going to sing it happy, you're going to sing it sad, you're going to break down and cry. I said, okay. And then you're going to do it nude.
Yeah, did they really?
I said, I was young.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think I'm ready to do this nude.
Really?
Really?
But I understand that because teaching acting, there's a lot of times I always thought like porno stars would make great actors if they would study.
Right.
Because they're willing to do anything.
Right. Yes.
And that's what I used to tell my actors when I was teaching. If you want to get naked in your mind and everything, you can go.
You stripped all of your
everything.
Everything. So that's what I understand.
That's what he meant by that exercise. Are you willing to get nude and sing Happy Birthday?
I would have laughed.
Yeah, but today, probably looking back, would you have done it?
Well, I understand it now.
So would you have done it?
Maybe.
Yeah, I believe you would have. You know, I have a feeling you would. We all nude. You know, I mean, what does that have to do with acting? Actually, it has everything.
It does. I understand that. Really? The exhibitions, you know, absolutely.
Because you have to. That's it. If you can get naked, you can go anywhere you want.
That's true.
And after that, you've done it, and you've done the most humiliating at times thing that you can think, which is a gift.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's like pain is a gift for the actor because you get to use that.
You know, the more you've gone through in life, and like you say, the pain and everything, the more you can do it realistically on screen or on stage.
Wherever it is.
Wherever it is.
Even in life, you understand, you'll pick up things a lot quicker than somebody doesn't understand. Acting is a good way of, I've learned to the craft of acting as a way, I don't know, maybe you too, of reading people.
Yes.
And understanding right away.
Well, I'm always analyzing people.
Well, that's what acting is, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, I watch people, and if they say something I don't like, or if they're in a group, I'll always analyze why did they say that, or whatever. And it usually, the people don't like, I always end up liking them.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I understand that. That's what it's really all about. Finding why.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? Or why are they saying that? What's the motivation?
Exactly. Everything's motivation.
Everything is. Everything is and then, well, now, what is some of the theater work that you've done? I mean, that'd be interesting.
Well, I this is funny. I cannot sing, but I tried out for the unsinkable Molly Brown, I remember, with the Bluth Brothers, but they gave me Cinderella instead.
Really?
Yes. And then I did 40 Carats, and I've done Butterflies Are Free, and Agnes of God, and I did a whole bunch of things.
That's a big difference between Agnes of God and Butterflies Are Free.
And I did do Bye Bye Birdie.
Ah.
So you know, I love theater.
Well, yeah, well, it's there.
It's there, and there's no cuts. I mean, if you screw up, you have to cover it up.
Well, that's what this show is about. If the phone rings, we got to cover it up.
You answer the phone.
But it's interesting because that happens. Things like happen to you on stage.
Right.
Where things happen you don't expect it.
Well, it happened in 40 Carats. I'm doing a scene with my mother, and she's having a drink, and she starts coughing, and I realized she was doing that, and it really was real.
Real.
So I ran over to her and, you know, hit her on the back, and I said, "Mom, you'll be okay." The audience had no idea it wasn't part of the script.
It's right. It's true. There's things.
You just have to take it, you know.
Yeah. Or you forget your lines and you just stand there.
And hope that another actor's going to say something to cover you.
Over you, and the audience doesn't know.
Right.
And and some of those moments are some of the best moments in the theater. Because you really have the audience.
Yeah, you do.
They have no idea.
They're waiting. What's happening?
What's going on?
Yeah.
A lot of actors don't understand how important it is to not say anything sometimes.
That's
and
right.
Just that silence. If you look at your old movies, and the most powerful moments is when you look on screen and they're not moving. You know, it's just because when an actor moves, I hope you agree. A lot of times when you start moving, I wonder, why are you moving? And my focus is not on what you're saying, it's on where you're going.
Yes, and sometimes, like you say, not saying anything, and the eyes.
The eyes.
The eyes can tell it all.
Oh, that's what the camera's for.
That's right.
You know, the stage is a little different. You know, I mean, you have to be a little broader, but here, it's just what's inside that's coming out.
That's right.
And it's unbelievable powerful if the actor is doing it.
Right.
And not indicating. You know.
I was just a frustrated singer. I always wanted to sing.
Really?
And I was taking singing lessons with Glenn Rakes, who is very famous here. And he had Wayne Newton and a whole bunch of people. And what's so funny is this guy came up to me after my singing, and he said, "I want you to do a record." And I said, "Are you deaf?" And he looked familiar. He said, "I'm Dick St. John from Dick and Dee Dee." Now, I don't know if you know who Dick and Dee Dee were. They did The Mountains High, which was real big.
Oh,
The Mountains High. And I said, "Why would you want me?" He said, "Well," he says, "you're so young and you have the look." And I said, "Well, I would figure you'd want Mary Sperling, who was Dee Dee of the group." So I did about 3 records. I mean, they made me sound in between Annette and Haley Mills. You know, it's cute when you're 14, but...
Wow.
But you would think, I mean, I come from a family, my grandmother was a opera singer. My mother was the first person to sing Over the Rainbow. And when she did it at the studio, they said, "We really don't want the song in there." My mom said, "You don't put the song in there, you guys are nuts." And you saw what a hit it was with Judy, you know, so.
So your mother was responsible for
that song.
That's interesting.
She's responsible. I'm writing a synopsis on her right now. I'd like, because she's an interesting person when you think of 8 years old coming here and already singing, you know, in theater by the time she was 10 and a contract at 14.
Where did your mother come from?
Canada, Winnipeg.
Oh.
So when she came here at 14, when she was at the studio at 14, she lied and said she was 18, and they never checked it.
Well, back then, yeah, really. And even if as long as you said it, they believed it.
That's right. And she thought The Wizard of Oz was going to be a cute little film. She was telling me, she said, "Oh, Clark Gable came in every day. He used to love to look at the sets."
Really?
And here it turns out to be a man. You know, look at it.
Yeah. One of the
And
greatest.
she originated that little skip, you know. She was on that film for 6 months every day.
Well, back then, films did take, you know, they went from like 6 months to a year, 2 years. You know, when you think of Cleopatra, well, it was 2 years in Italy over there.
Yeah, she sang beautifully. My grandmother sang beautifully. My cousin Robert Goulet sang beautifully, and I'm tone deaf.
Oh, so Robert Goulet was your cousin?
Right, yeah.
I see his wife a lot on Facebook. She's always reposting pictures of her. He did have a great voice.
Yes, he did.
A baritone, big good-looking guy.
Yes.
Wow. So you really come from...
Yeah, and I've never met him, but another cousin of mine is Dick Gautier.
Dick Gautier, now why do I know that name?
Well, he played, I know in Bye Bye Birdie, he played, you know, the Elvis part.
The name just sounds so familiar.
I think he did the film, if I remember right.
I remember the film with, what's his name, the singer that played the part?
In Bye Bye Birdie?
Yeah.
Let's see, who was in there? I know there was
He
Bobby
was
Rydell.
Bobby Rydell.
Yes, yes.
He was really Italian.
Of course, Jelly.
Yeah, the name, you know, Bobby, yeah. A lot of people don't realize that he was
Yeah,
that he
it's
is
a
Italian.
funny story. I was at the Dunes Hotel and I was about 14, and this was really fun. I was a big fan of all the Italian singers from Fabian, Frankie Avalon. So I'm going through the Dunes Hotel. He comes up to me with like 5 other guys. He said, "Jody," I almost fainted, you know. I said, "Yes." He said, "I watch you all the time on the Wink Martindale show, and I would love to take you out to dinner." Well, I'm so excited. And then I introduced him to my father. And my dad just looked at him. "Do you know how old my daughter is?" He said, "No." He said, "She's only 14. I'm sorry." I didn't want to talk to my dad for, I swear, the whole vacation.
I
was
don't
so
blame
sad.
you, yeah.
I mean, we did go see him at the show, and he was really gracious, but, you know, he said, what do I want you to go out with? An Italian, you know, rock and roll star.
Yeah. And he's still around. They're still doing it.
He's on Facebook, sure.
Well, I mean, I just saw they just did a tour with Fabian.
And Frankie Avalon, right?
Frankie Avalon.
Yeah.
And himself. They just did a tour.
That's great.
Well, when you watch it on PBS, when they have the doo-wop shows.
Which I watch him all the time.
Some of the old timers, I mean, those songs.
Those were the days.
They really, you know,
They
doo-wops. Well, I grew up in this, you know, Arthur Avenue section. So Dion, I knew Dion and the Belmonts and the guy. So I knew that was my era. I knew a lot of them.
Oh yeah, those were great. Great
Dion,
times.
he's
Happy
still-
times.
Happy times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they were.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they were. Today it's an angry time when you listen to music.
Yeah, it is.
It's
about
angry. This is-
violence and hatred.
Yeah. Kids
You're
are
right.
upset.
It was
I mean,
all about love back then. And
yeah, romance. And
Romance.
you danced in the still of the night. Yeah, I mean, it was
The
good.
5 Satins.
That's right.
In the still of the night.
Yep.
That's really, yeah. You're right though. Today's music. Well, I don't consider it music. I don't consider rap music.
No.
I mean, it's whatever it is. I mean, you know, Sinatra and Luciano and
Of course, Tony
you know,
Bennett.
Tony Anthony is still around.
Yeah.
You know, he's still, and his voice is still the same. And who I heard the other day, Judy Collins.
Oh, that's a name from the past, isn't
Oh,
it?
and her voice is still the same.
Still good.
You know, and Judy's, you know, I think she's a year older than me or younger than me. But I was listening to her and I was saying, God, her voice is still, you would think. Because when you look, Sinatra, you know, when he got older, I mean, his voice wasn't there anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That golden voice of the 40s and 50s and 60s, I mean. But her voice, and then, you know, it's amazing how they kept that. And Tony Bennett kept his voice. Unbelievable. Wow. So you really enjoy singing. Do you, I guess now you sing in the shower? Or what?
Well, no one wants to hear me
one's
sing.
Why do you say that?
Because I
You
can't.
probably have a good voice.
No, I really don't. I
Really?
don't know what I don't know.
Let's hear some a cappella.
Oh yeah, I can't sing.
You can sing.
I
I'll give
know.
you the mic. Anybody, when you get the mic, you can sing.
Oh, you want everybody to turn it off?
Turn it
You're
on.
gonna sing with me. What are we gonna sing?
No,
In the still
Oh, you
of the night, I held you. I held you tight in the still of the night. Did I get off key?
Yes, no, I did.
Really?
But at least I'm glad the audience got to hear your voice. It's lovely, yeah.
Well, I'm not a singer.
You are singing.
I'd like to be.
Well, if you like to be, you are.
To myself.
Well, that's all that counts, right?
Right.
And God, that's interesting. So we're going to go on a little now to what made you. I mean, was it because what made you become a host of a show?
Well, this gentleman by the name of Shell Reinish got in touch with me, and he said, I would like to do an interview with your mother. And I said, well, first of all, who are you? And I wanted to check who he was. We met at a restaurant, and we had it all scheduled, and my mother got ill. So I called him, I said, well, I think we're going to have to cancel. He said, oh, no, can't you do it? And I went, well, I can try. So I brought a video and of all my mother's work, and we discussed it. And after the show, he said to me, I used to do the show with my wife, and we're divorced. He said, are you interested in doing it? And I said, well, yeah. He said, how do you handle controversy and you know, things like that? I said, well, we'll have to see. So he had me on a show the next time, and it was called Addictions. And it was being addicted, a lot of it to sex. And I would giggle and this. He said, I love that attitude. I want you to do the show. And so I said, okay. And it was a wacky show.
It was. A lot of it was live.
Yes.
That's
And
it.
call-in show.
Call-in show, which is really. I mean, I tried that once, and I had some guy call in, and it's funny because I had Trish Vanderveer on, and she had a son, George, who was very young at the time, and you know, something got through that really wasn't polite.
Oh, Shell wanted to push every button there could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said to him, I said, well, you know, now it's time for me to also go on my own. So that's when I went and got my you know, public access contracts and all that, and I started doing Jodie LA. and that's when I was interviewing people, and I try to get topics of everything from entertainers to doctors to psychiatrists to, you know, molestation, everything.
Everything.